And so this is another Chopin Prelude. This will be Prelude number 6. So the Prelude in B minor illustrates the kind of player that Chopin was and he was not when you listen to it. Again, not the most difficult one to play. I'm playing it, so it's not that hard to play, technically speaking, for say an intermediate stage pianist. But there's a lot of expressive stuff going on here and behind the scenes. So Chopin came on the scene as a romantic in the Romantic period, beginning of the 19th century, and he was really one of the first big romantic composers. And as that period progressed, musical philosophy and approach started to split a bit within the romantic camp, as it were. You had Chopin along with Brahms and Schumann, who thought that the new roads could be forged in music without destroying the past and without forgetting about the past and destroying it, and that music could ultimately reach its important goals with sort of keeping the what we learned from the past and bringing it forward into the future kind of thing. And then you had other people like say Wagner, Richard Wagner, and the great virtuoso Franz Liszt, and Niccolo Paganini, the virtuoso violinist, Italian violinist, and they and people that were in their camp, so to speak, had a growing emphasis on technical fireworks and showmanship and presentations and big high art kinds of ambitions, which were different than where Schumann and people were coming from. And they began, and at the beginning, it was really the beginning of the elevation of the virtuoso player. Paganini being the obvious example, who was just, according to the testimony of people listening to him, was that he was mesmerizing on stage. And so really the virtuoso player started to become more the star of the show rather than the music, which wasn't, before that really wasn't true. But now that the virtuoso player really started to become, a star in their own right, apart from the music that they were actually playing. And that's a change. And that sort of set the stage for where we are today. So sometimes it's not necessarily, what you're playing, but it's who's doing it kind of a thing. And that was a big started to be a big deal in terms of the showmanship of the person on stage and their personal magnetism and personal charisma on stage as a performer began to be really pushed to the fore, and all of the theatrics involved, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a big deal. Liszt was another one. Very showmanship was a big deal, and he was sort of, again, he was like, he really glued people's attention to him and on the stage, the way he played. And that wasn't, of course, always true of every pianist, or every musician for that matter. So Liszt himself, I think I remarked before, was that he really greatly admired Chopin, but Chopin hated Liszt as a artist and performer. Hated his approach, hated his playing. He also thought Schumann, who was sort of a spiritual mentor in some sense to him and Brahms, was too idiosyncratic in his composition. Instead, Chopin really looked to Mozart and Bach. He looked backwards as an inspiration, while at the same time saying he wanted to create a new world with his music, quite different from the world of Bach and Mozart's. He emphasized something that I myself actually came to understand on my own, and I didn't even know that until I read it later on, was that Chopin stated that you are to sing if you wish to play, which, in other words, to sing and understand singing in a musical context is very important to be able to play an instrument, piano being one of them, but any instrument. And he really emphasized that to people that he would teach, and he did teach. He taught piano to people at various times, earned his money that way. But one thing he said was, you need to go out, go to an opera, hear people sing yourself. That's important because it makes you a better player. And I found that out sort of independently on my own. I said, yeah, it's one reason why I started singing, because not because I thought I was a good singer, but because I quickly found out that it helped my playing. The period at the end. I mean, it helped my piano playing immensely, to to sing a vocal line and start to understand, you know, note to note to note what you might want to do there for a musical effect does makes all the difference in the world when you're playing something and you have a melody line and you're trying to play it and you're thinking, well, how would I play it if I was going to sing it? How would that sound? And that really makes all the difference in the world. It doesn't matter whether you're playing a song or you're singing or playing a solo or playing a solo piano piece or singing a song. The act of singing as an experience is just hugely influential and can have a huge effect on your playing of any instrument, whether it's piano or something else. So my advice to anyone who plays an instrument or learning is to sing. It doesn't matter if you can sing poorly or you can sing well. That's not the point. It doesn't matter. If you play a musical instrument, you should sing, because part of music, and maybe the primary instrument we all have, is our voice, whether we think about it or not. I mean, that, you know, before there were instruments, all you had was your singing voice, and maybe, you know, maybe you beat on something and you make a rhythm, I suppose. But even before that, the first thing you got to make a sound with is your voice, and so it's the one you're most familiar with in terms of all the little things you can do with it. And obviously, if you don't sing, then maybe you don't realize all the different little things you can do with it. So absolutely positively, any musician or any person who has even a casual interest in playing an instrument should sing. It doesn't matter how well you sing. It really isn't the point. Just sing and do it on a regular basis. It makes all the difference in the world to your understanding of the music you're listening to and the music you're playing. So some of Chopin's pieces, like this one, have a melody and a theme which really sounds like someone singing. When you listen to this, you're going to hear it's the theme of the thing really overshadows the whole thing. It's like someone singing, and I'm sure that was how he sort of meant it. There's a very much a singing quality to the whole thing, and the player certainly has to work as a pianist to bring out that vocal sense. So this piece, is a prime example of, you really want to think of the melody line you're playing like a vocal line, as if, how would I sing it if I was going to sing that? How would you do it? And so, and how should it sound? Makes all the difference. So in any event, this will be, like I said, this is a Prelude number 6 of the 24 preludes that Chopin wrote. So Prelude number 6 by Frédéric Chopin.